talking about the worm moon for a long time. Because you know that worm? Jacob felt like a worm. I feel like a worm sometimes. That worm, by the way, is a symbol of Christ. We've talked about this. Do you remember the sub that, like, when it was going down, just kind of like poor sub, it looked like a worm. Did shows about the worm, but the crimson worm, how it's a symbol of Christ, how it dies to protect his children. It leaves behind a red dye, a covering, a bloodbath. So this worm moon is very interesting. Do you know that in Psalms 22, that's the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, that's the Tav. Do you know that in Psalms 22, Christ considers himself a worm? Jacob considers himself a worm. I, at my life, consider myself to be like a little lowly worm. So the worm moon, it bodes well for some things. Maybe it's time for us to stop feeling like we're nothing and start feeling like maybe there is some light on the horizon. The full worm moon will bring 2024's very first lunar eclipse weekend. This is a big deal. They call it the worm moon, according to Farmer's Almanac. This has been around for a long time, from when, you know, the colonials became America back in the day. The worm moon's been around since Native Americans till like 1770s, 1776, whatever you want to call it, because we've been talking about that on the show. The worm moon is a big deal because it's the time when, you know, the worms, they start to move in the earth. You know, spring is near. March is seen as the time of the year when the ground begins to warm up and thaw, and thus the earthworms begin to move the upper layers of the soil. This is a big deal. It's a big deal because the soil needs to be tilled so that when seed is planted in it, it grows. I'm telling you, people, we got some possibility on the horizon. We got some possibility on the horizon, as you're going to see as this show progresses. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. But in Psalms 22, this is the favorite one. Jesus actually quoted this on the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from my cries of anguish. My God, I cry out by the day, but you don't answer. By night I find no rest. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One. You are the one Israel praises. In you our ancestors put their trust. They trusted and you delivered them. They trusted and you delivered them. To you Israel cried, and they were saved out of it. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not a man. I'm scorned by everyone today. Seems like literal Israel are being scorned by everyone today. It's interesting, because what I see playing out in the natural, and I'm not saying I'm down with any of the actions of any legitimate or literal place, but what we see happening in the literal world is the anti-version of what's happening within the hearts of man. You know the things of the Spirit by the things that happen in the world. Psalms 22. Israel, they were left alone, they were hated, put to shame, and they cried out to God, and God in the last minute delivered them. Christ himself said, I am a worm. Jacob said, I am a worm. And I get it. But that worm is going to turn. And that's what today's show is all about. All who see me mock me today. They hurt me with insults, shaking their heads. I'm not even Jewish, and I'm getting attacked. I'm calling like people are saying, "Go back to your sewer." Like I live in a sewer. I live in Long Island. I don't live in a sewer. I'm Irish Italian. But it's interesting that we see it literally happening in the world, all this hate, all this division. Everybody has their reasons for it. But I'm telling you, if you cannot love those that you cannot see, if you can't love those you can see, not those you can't see, how are you going to love a God you can't see? Like if you can't love people that you see, even those that are the most hateful and the most vile, if you can't love them and forgive them and want better for them, how are you going to say you know God?
You're welcome.
It's the day we're in. Hateful people, they're not going to find this to be a very rewarding time. Now, I put my faith, as you know, I put my faith in God. I always have. I always will. Since I was 12 years old. By the way, we talked about the eclipse and everything else. 40 years ago, there was an eclipse on my birthday, and there was a surprise comet that no one saw coming. Arrakis, I think its name was, and it was it meant new wood for an old cottage. This is the new in Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. And finally enters the promise.
Today's date.
Jesus tempted 40 days, 40 nights. It's been 40 years since I turned 12. I'm 52. Here we are. The worm's about to turn. Let the worm moon come. Who's going to look outside? Tell me in the live chat. We got a lot of people here. Hey, we don't got a lot of people that hit the like, though. Would you mind? Maybe on my end it just hasn't refreshed. Please do, because it helps me. This is the way. Let me tell you something. You may not think that it matters. And you may not think, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's like too much for me to X out of chat and just go like this while he's just telling me to do it or asking me to do it. It helps. Leaving a comment helps. Sharing it around, telling people to watch, it helps. It literally helps because you can't trust in the system. You got to start trusting in each other. You see this? The more we come together, the less we need the system. You get what I'm saying? And the system's about to lock it down. It's about to be locked down. But there's something happening. Something's breaking. Something's coming forth. Something is rushing. And it's breaking down the barriers that used to be. Did you hear what happened? On X, there's a trend. And the term is shut it down. They're saying shut it down. That's what has to happen. Shut it down in regards to the government, in regards to the border, in regards to a lot of things. Shut it down. Why? Well, because there was like a breach down in El Paso. I think it's the Briggs Airfield is the name of the place, I think. Fort Bliss. That's what I'm assuming. They just said it's El Paso and that's the area right there. Well, what happened was a bunch of migrants basically just overrun the place. They just knocked everything down, knocked everyone down, and it was a pretty scary time. And they were begging and they were pleading and they were saying, please, please, please help me. Please help me. They just wanted to get out of where they were and get to something better. Now here's what's weird about this. You'll probably see that little post, middle of the screen to the right. It says dream, ... Either an airport or a campus of sorts, taken over by people not originally from the country, close to outnumbered. Now this was at 6:07 in the morning. I woke up from this dream. And I was walking, and I was looking at all these people, and it was weird because at one part of the dream I was looking, and it looked like there was like a ramp, and there were like people, and as I was walking, I was looking at all these people. I'm going, oh, they're not part of. Like I said, oh, I hope they're not terrorists in the dream. That's what I was thinking. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was an airport. I didn't know if it was like a campus. I didn't know what it was. But like I told you on the show, I said, your dreams matter. You should start putting little posts out because then weird things happen. Then all of a sudden you got to ask yourself, well, maybe God's telling you something. Maybe God's telling you something. Who's the nominee? It's the Trumpster. Who had the dream before he lost? I did. Start paying attention to your dreams. Start listening to that voice within your heart because it's going to get exciting. And the more that you have faith, the more you can start to see. All you got to do is you come up to a higher place, right? If you come up to a higher place, you can see farther down the road. So I put this out, and at first, there was this weird thing that happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know if you know. He was like, he's become like the poster child for whatever. Some people are they're divided on this issue. I've been very clear. When this whole thing happened with this young man who decided to take, this powerful weapon to a riotous protest, probably not the best idea. None of my children would do it because I would raise them to not do such a thing. But, maybe he was told to do it. Maybe, maybe he just wanted to do whatever. But hey, look, it launched him. He went through some hard times, and he ended up getting released. He got sued. He made a lot of money. Now he's the poster child for like body armor and cartridges and all sorts of things. So he went to a university a day after my dream.
Body armor.
And I got to tell you, some people started asking some difficult questions. And he really, then somebody walked on the stage and walked them off. Now, it's ironic because he's trying to say, oh no, I wasn't booed off the stage, and oh no, I wasn't rushed off the stage. He said we were supposed to be there for 30 minutes, and then it was a hard 30 minutes, and we were out. No, he was taking questions.
I was only there for 15 minutes.
Somebody asked him about somebody else and mentioned some of the talking points of this other person. These people that a lot of people call heroes. Did you hear Candace Owen? She's no longer with the Daily Wire. That's the big news today. And they're like, oh, she's so great. Remember she took Andrew Tate and made him look like a superhero? All of these people, who do you trust? Who can you trust? It just drives me nutty. Long story short, this group with the midfish, they just took over the place. And when I saw that he was like rushed off the stage and then they were like chasing him down, he was fine. He was with somebody who had a t-shirt on from the Black Rifle Company, coffee. Anybody know about this? Anybody know about this? It's interesting because I got to tell you something. Look, I've been on X a long time. It took me a long time to get my almost 30,000 followers there. We got 200. I've been on YouTube since it started. It took me a long time, but not these people. They come on X like in 2024. All of a sudden, they're a viral sensation with the name Catfish, the Catfish Girl. You see that? You see those videos going around? Before I get to her, let me go back to Kyle for a second. So he's rushed off stage, and I'm thinking this is interesting because the video shows. Let me see if I can actually even play you this video. He was trending. This was a big deal. Ironically, I did shows years ago, so it was almost like an anniversary of how we're revisiting things.
Last year, 1 year.
Back then,
you're talking
I was
about.
trying to convince people that you're supposed to turn the other cheek. I was arguing with people, saying, well, hang on a second, you say you're a Christian. How do you take the one tenet of the Christian faith and you say no? The Democrats are so bad. Who do we
My phone's going to die out.
Do we answer to Barabbas or Jesus of Nazareth? Who do we answer to? Today, it seems like it's not who I'd like it to be. Let me just show you before I show you this. And here we go. So I had that dream, either an airport or campus. It was a campus. It was overtaken. You look at this, and it's like nuts. I mean, it's nuts. And I woke up and I saw this footage, and I was like, wait a minute. Is this my dream? Was this what I was talking about? Because these are clearly people that are not part of our country. If you think about it, because people should have the right to speak, and it's their event. You don't want to go, don't go. they just, and look at how long the clip is that they shoot. 2 minutes. So all of this stuff that we do,
Io mi attrezzo.
I find it sucks. Why do I find it sucks? Because it's a timing. It's a timing. Very weird. Very weird that these things just
Happening.
He originally was. Yes. I didn't look too deep into it. Because you go to their page, and you look at their page, and you're like, "Why you got six stars in the form of a triangle?" They're veterans. They're veterans, so it's a full flag. That's what I was looking at. I was looking at the fact that their logo has a mirror image. The B is backwards, the C is backwards. As above, so below. I see a lot of
My
symbolism.
phone's gonna die.
Now, do you remember that catfish girl? The girl that was catching the catfish?
Just preparing for
by her
tomorrow.
hand? Anybody remember this? You can tell me. Tell me in the live chat. I'm looking right now. I'm looking at all of you. We got a lot of people here. She went viral. And they were like, is this sexy? Is tomboy sexy? Is it good? And they were showing me this is what a woman is. She was like mowing the lawn. She was like building a barn. She was catching a catfish in the lawn. There were some other pictures of her too, which is pretty interesting. But it's pretty interesting to me that she comes on to the old X platform on March 2024, and she already has amassed 217,000 followers.
Speak up, Esther.
Known as the Catfish Girl.
It's time to speak up.
The Catfish Girl. Do you know what catfish it is? When it comes to the internet?
Yeah, fishing for cats.
Tricking you. It's tricking you. Can you tell me in the live chat if I'm blowing out your ears? Because I like to be excited and I like to be loud, but I also want to be nice to your ears. I don't want your ears to, I don't need them like this. Settle down. Hannah is a catfish girl. That's what she's known for. I find it pretty interesting. Truth Seeker put out a bunch of stuff with her, which is interesting. You see the as above, so below. There's a lot of sus stuff about the Catfish Girl. Now, once again, maybe she really is just known for her catfishing ability. She looked like she knew how to noodle very well. That's called noodling, I think. I don't know. I've never done it before. I haven't done it before. But the company that she seems to be promoting all the time is the Black Rifle Coffee Company. And if you look below, Truth Seeker did a really cool little breakdown of all this stuff. Take a look at the imagery. You got the one-eye symbolism. But here's the thing. Alex Jones is reposting her and posting about her, saying, breaking. The globalists declare war on strong
Today's
women.
March 22nd.
Take a look at the
2024.
Catfish Girl. Do your part to beat the globalists by becoming a follower of the Catfish Girl.
5:52 p.m.
Doesn't that seem weird to you? Seems weird to me. But what do I know? Connected to Rittenhouse. But then all of a sudden, they started trying to distance themselves from Rittenhouse. But Rittenhouse was just on I hope I have a picture of this. He was just on the stage, and then afterwards, he responded to everybody. And he was wearing a shirt that said something like handler something. But the guy that he was with that was supposedly protecting him, who had to do with his dog company that he's working with, I don't know, security dogs or something, or dogs.
Merlin.
Friend. I didn't spend a lot of time on Kyle, but he was wearing a Black Rifle t-shirt. So it looks like the company is in that distance if he's wearing the merch with it. Strange. But people said to me, well, yeah, that's sort of like your dream. But they're not immigrants, and they're not like overtaking an area. I thought they were overtaking an area. I didn't know that they were immigrants in the dream. I just had a vibe that they weren't my people. And not like they're not my people, but like they're foreign to me. So imagine my surprise when I get to double down on this dream that I had, and I got to tell everybody, hey, look, okay, well maybe it's both. Maybe I said either an airport or a campus of sorts, because there was that happening on a campus of sorts and an airport within 24 hours. Both being overrun, both being close to being outnumbered. This is a big deal. And everybody's screaming, shut it down. Shut it down.
My phone's going to shut down real soon.
You don't want the people in. I get it. I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm worried about so much stuff. Not really. I gotta be honest. Not really. I do get stressed about bills and all of that stuff because we live, by grace of God. By grace of God. Not comfortable. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working as hard as I am. But I think God has me where I want to because He needs me to do what I do. I feel like this is my purpose. It's a gift. I'm grateful for it. And I think that if I had more, I would relax a little more and hang the candle. And by the way, I could be home the last couple of days. Say, hit me all jacked up. She was really welcome. She was dying. Me and Anthony were saying, are you okay, Mom? You're going to be all right. You're going to live. She got like a really bad. She needs to rest. So I'd rather be hanging with her. But these are things that need to happen. This isn't just like my dream. And once again, another 22-second post. How strange. Look at this. Wild. Very wild to me. I mean, this is like a day after the dream that I had. The question becomes, at what point do you start to say, why am I concerned? Why am I so worried? You look at David, and you look at Goliath. When Goliath was standing before him, it would be the equivalent of you standing in front of, like, I don't know, like Bezos or like Bill Gates at the time. I'm not saying that they're the enemy, and they probably are. Yeah. But you worry about it? But David's like, I come in the name of the living God. Who do you come in the name of? Are you God's champion? God's champion ain't a tough guy. God's champion, he just has faith that the Lord is going to bring him through. And the Lord
especially
brings
tomorrow.
him through. The worm
you wait till tomorrow.
He uses people
3/23,
like
2024.
He uses people like me. So when I have weird dreams like that, and then like a day or two later, take notice, world. Take notice. Because everything is possible with faith. Whatever situation you're in right now, don't be worried about Candace Owens or how she's going to get by now that she's not at the Daily Wire. Instead, understand that God has you where you're supposed to be and is going to bring you where you're supposed to go. You can go
Dos ex mocking us.
You can go the other way. You can go come hell or high water. You can go to Nineveh on a nice luxury cruise, you know, drinking your virgin daiquiris if that's your thing, or your Pinot Noir.
There's the two faces.
I should probably cut it out a little bit if I want to lose a little bit of weight. But hey, what I'm saying is, you can go the easy way, or you can go the hard way, in the belly of a whale. The belly of a whale? Hang on a second. I feel like there's a connection here. There's a whale, a princess of Wales, who has a belly issue. Something strange. Do you know that there's a worm in the story of Jonah? I've talked about this. If you haven't seen my eclipse video, my live video on the eclipse and the breakdown, I appreciate when you send me other people's videos. I hope that you're sending those other people that did these videos after my video, that you sharing my video with them as well. That would be really nice and helpful to me, just hitting that little share. But the Jonah story is a pretty cool story, but there's a worm. God prepares a worm for Jonah. Prepares a worm. Jonah, told everybody destruction was coming, but then he came back and he knew that God was going to forgive him. He told everybody, get it right, you better do better. People did better. God spared him. But he did a video about the eclipse. Then the eclipse comes and nothing happens. And people forget the fact that in that video, I said, don't think anything terrible is going to happen. I have a feeling it's not going to happen because the story of Jonah
Still haven't found what I'm looking
is
for.
people are given another chance. But Jonah, after nothing happens, he's kind of like, what do I do now? I've lost all credibility. I've lost. And God is like, hey, you care more about what's covering you. You care more about that gourd over your head. The gourd. You care more about your house. You care more about your finances. But the world comes, it's gonna eat that. It's gonna eat it away. You didn't labor for it. That gourd that came up, popped up, basically it was like a big leafy plant. That Jonah was so hot, it was a hot day, and a leafy plant came up. He was so happy. He was like, oh, thank you, Lord, for that. But then a worm came and ate it. We got to put our trust in God, not in the gourd. That's the point. And we got Princess of Wales, but with a belly button. Very weird. When I think of worms, I think of parasites. There's a lot of parasite stuff in the news too. It's strange. All it is. But
There's really nothing
just
down on
remember,
each end.
it's just a story. It's a spiritual
Just
story.
Dos
that we
Ex
gotta
mocking
learn.
us is down there.
It's playing out. Do you get too upset about it? I don't know. But I will tell you one thing. The people that say you shouldn't turn the other cheek anymore, they're going to have an issue. They're going to have an issue. You remember when Donald Trump Jr. said this? Now remember, these are supposed to be people that can consider themselves to be Christians. He said this. I'm going to play this for you. This was from a couple of years ago. This was actually the video that I did right around the time when the Rittenhouse stuff first came out. And I was saying how everybody was going to make him a hero. And I was saying that really, he's a young man. And God, I wish he didn't have to go through any of this stuff. All right, let's take a listen to this. And you tell me what you think.
We better be playing the same game. Okay? We've been playing T-ball for half a century, while they're playing hardball and cheating. Right? We've turned the other cheek, and I understand sort of the biblical reference. I understand the mentality, but it's gotten us nothing. Okay? It's gotten us nothing. While we've ceded ground in every major institution in our country.
There's a problem today. Because I'm telling you, people, God is the only thing that matters. Serving the one true God. Your life, it's so beautiful, it's so wonderful. You're here, you're now, you're present. There's so much potential within you. But the world's going to tell you, you shouldn't love other people, even if they're horrible, right? Some people are going to tell me that I get criticized sometimes, right? I get criticized sometimes. On the thumbnail, you saw the picture of the guy with had the American flag like a cape, and it was the cross in between, and it said Trump, and it had two guns. This is not what Christ came to this planet to share. It wasn't about force and might, much to the dismay of many, many Christians.
Until Christ appeared, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. Violent people took it by force. But when Christ is here, Now we are to be as wise as serpents, but as harmless as doves.
This YouTube channel, my website, that's all I have. A little bit. God says, what do you have in your hand? What can you use?
Same time.
Moses was like, how am I supposed to help people? What do I got? He's like, what do you got in your hand? I'm like, well, I got a YouTube channel. I got a couple of hundred subscribers. And now look. But people still are going to have a problem with me saying you need to forgive. You need to love. You need to understand that these tenets of the Christian faith, if you want to call it that, they get you somewhere. They get you a lot. It's not worthy to be compared, the scriptures say. We don't know what we're going to appear like. Beloved, hear this. Now we are the children of God. It doesn't yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when we see Christ, we'll see